This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Let's Talk Teens, episode 61. Is your teen's self-talk healthy? How to help them stop being an inner critic.
I think we all need this sometimes, not just teens, right, Abby? But
Yes.
but our teens especially. I am amazed, and maybe you've noticed this too, as you coach, like how loud that inner critic, that bully in their head can be, and how much it affects them. Because what we believe about ourselves is what we tell ourselves, right? And what we tell ourselves we believe, and then what we believe runs our programming, how we show up, what we do, how we present ourselves to the world, what we're willing to put effort into, what we give up on and quit. And so much of that comes from, how we're talking to ourselves and whether it's healthy or whether the bully comes out.
Mm-hmm. This got me thinking about a story. I know I've shared this before, but it might have been quite a while ago. I like to, in my coaching, especially if my youth are struggling with self-esteem, right? I'll say, "Hey, show me a picture of you as a baby," right? And we talk to that younger version of themselves. And typically it's a really healthy and it's a good like reminder, I'm just a little kid on the inside, right? Like I'm just a little kid. I This has only happened to me once, Cheree. I had one young lady that inner critic was so strong that I was like, "Look at this beautiful 6-year old," right? It's a picture of her. And I'm like, "What would you say to her?" And she's like, "I'd tell her to get on a diet and get her act together and like all these things." I was like, "No, no, no, no. This
No,
is
you
not
wouldn't.
what this is about."
Yeah, it's so true. And really, I mean, as I work with different teens and young adults and we really notice what their thoughts about themselves, like how that makes them feel and then what they do when they felt that way and the results they get, they realize that it really is doing so much damage, right? And I think we can't talk about this enough. And maybe we've even done a podcast episode about it before, but it just felt important to do another one, maybe because I've been coaching a lot of,
Yeah.
especially girls lately that they just beat themselves up, right? And that's got to stop because it is just not helpful. So I think as parents, the very first thing, and we talk about this a lot, you and I, Abby, but the very first thing that is so important is how we model talking about ourselves and our healthy self-talk versus our inner critic and our bully in our head. And what do our kids hear us saying? When we drop something, do we go, "Oh, I'm such a klutz"? Or when we forget something, do we say, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I should have remembered that"? Like, what are we saying? And what are we saying out loud? And it seems like it's harmless, maybe, but it's truly not. It truly, isn't helpful to any of us. And so, as parents, I first just want to invite you to really look and pay attention and become very intentional about the way you talk about yourself, especially in those moments where things might look a little messy or feel a little messy or we're not showing up as our best self. How do we out loud talk to ourselves that our children are hearing us?
The one way that I do this that has been so conscious since I've had children has been the way I talk about myself in photos. So there's just this natural tendency, right, when we look at ourselves in a photo to go, "Oh, like that's what I look like," or "I had no idea I look so crazy," whatever, fill in the blank. And that has been something I've been so conscious about because I don't want my kids to think that that's normal. So even if I look at a picture of me and it is just the most funniest, weirdest face that I'm pulling, worst angle on me, I just say, "Oh, yep, love that picture. Awesome," right? And it's one way that I can really practice this because I don't want my kids growing up thinking, "Oh, I don't like myself in photos."
I think that's so important, to pick out something you do like, even if you don't like all the photo, be like, "Oh, my hair looks good that day," or "Oh, I like that shirt," or
Hmm.
just paying attention to that. You would have to be so intentional about that. Another thing I thought that is so helpful to say ourselves and to help our teens say so that they have more healthy self-talk is this word, this three-letter word that is so powerful, and it's yet. Y-E-T,
Mm.
yet, right? So, it's so easy to be like, I don't know how to do this, or I suck at this, or I'll never, like I am so bad at math, or I'll never be able to remember this, or, I just can't figure out how to do my makeup. But to add yet, like, okay, I don't know how to do my makeup like I want to yet, or I haven't figured this out yet. Or I haven't made the basketball team yet, but I'm going to keep showing up. Or, I'm not good at math yet, but I'm doing everything I can and putting forth so much effort to learn it. But it's just that power of like, okay, I don't have to be stuck in this negative self-talk of like where I'm failing. I can say, hey, yeah, I haven't mastered that yet. And
Hmm.
what we're saying to ourselves is, I'm okay that I'm still a beginner in this area or I haven't mastered it. And it doesn't mean anything about me. And I don't need to beat myself up for where I am on that path to learning this new thing or becoming this version of myself I want to. So I think the power of yet is really important.
And I think teenagers really struggle with this because they are at a point that some of their peers who've been dancing since they were 3 or doing this sport since they were 2 or their dad is the coach, right? They really are starting to shine as they develop those talents, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes as a teen, it can make you feel behind. It can make you feel like, well, if I didn't start at 5 years old, it's over for me, right? And so giving them full permission to be a beginner. Cheree, this is so random, but I have gotten into face painting. I don't even know how. It's just been the most random thing. And I bought myself like a little kit for my birthday. And everybody's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't know, just for fun. And it has been fun because I have zero expectations of being good. I am like, I'm gonna be awful. And it's just so fun to not have an expectation on that and to give that yet. Like maybe one day I'll be good at this, but I'm not yet, and I'm just having fun.
Oh, I love that. I really do think there is so much power in us allowing ourselves to be beginners and be bad at something first, and only because we haven't had the experience. And the more we do it, the better we get. And again, it's so easy to have a lot of negative self-talk and let the inner critic come out when we're just learning a new skill or learning something, and knowing that it's actually okay and that we're going to get there. Develops a lot of self-confidence that we can be confident in ourselves that we will figure it out. Okay, I think as a parent, this is a really good thing to say to your teen when you hear them just beating the heck up out of themselves. And I think it just can stop them. I heard this once and I really liked it is, there maybe your daughter's being like, oh, my hair's so ugly, or I just suck and no boys will ever like me, or whatever your
Mhm.
daughter or might say. And then we could say the same thing about boys, but to just stop them and say, hey, don't talk to my daughter that way. Or,
Hmm.
don't talk to my best friend that way. And really what you're saying is like, you're beating up someone I care about and I don't like it. Just like you would defend, if someone was talking to your daughter like that and telling her all those horrible things, you would like go into mama bear mode and be like,
Yeah.
you cannot say that about my daughter. And I think it's kind of good for us to go into a little bit of mama bear mode with our kids, our sons and our daughters when we hear them beat themselves up.
I love kind of to those same line Shreve, but a little different. Growing up, my mom kind of had this thing that if we were going down that road of this sucks and I'm not good enough, all this stuff, she would literally be like, this is so ridiculous. Like, that is so insane that you would think that I'm not even gonna like give it thought. I'm not even gonna like talk to you about that because it's so crazy. And it would actually really help me go, okay, like if my mom thinks that this is so ridiculous that I'm like, nobody's gonna take me to prom, and she'd be like, Abby, that thought is so crazy and wild that we're not even gonna think about it, right? And it would kind of help me go, okay, yeah, like my mom really believes in me that this really is crazy and wild, and kind of be in that check, right? And I used it the other day. It came out with my brother. I can't remember, we were on the phone for something, and I was like, Dallin, that's so ridiculous that I'm not even gonna give that thought. And he's like, oh, you sound like mom. And I was like, yeah, because it's a good tactic.
It is. And to go along with that, my next one goes so perfectly with that is really helping your teen question it. Like even saying, okay, could you be wrong about that? Is that really, really true? You know, is it really true that no girls will ever like you to your son? Or is it really, really true that your hair looks the worst it's ever looked? Or, you know, is it really, really true that you're bad at math? Or could you be wrong about that? Could you be just being really hard on yourself and really like questioning what they're saying? And I think your mom did that so beautifully. It's like, basically, I'm not buying into this, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't either, you know?
And I love that because we need to be that sounding board. I think where I have seen things really start to spiral is when parents give in to the teens' logic and they're like, "You're right. You don't have any friends here. Maybe we need to switch schools."
Mm.
That validates your teen's fears, and all of a sudden they go, whoa, like that just got real versus, oh, honey, that's so crazy. Like, that's not true, right? And being that sounding board. So, that is a really great indicator of like, okay, I got to step into my adulthood role here of helping my youth not go down that spiral.
Yeah. And it's just, it's questioning it. And then it's also helping them see like what's in their power to change
Hmm.
and where they can improve, you know? And it's not like, oh, you're perfect exactly how you are, but it's saying, hey, you know what, you have there's some great things about you, but focusing on the things that maybe are your weaknesses isn't helpful in beating yourself up. And what could you say that is good about yourself? And what do you want to do to improve that or change that instead of, I just suck, or I'm just bad at this, or I have no friends? You know, what is in my power to change? Okay, and I think the last one I think is that can be so helpful for teens is to actually journal how they're feeling about themselves and just get it out of their head. I teach this a lot with my clients is a lot of times what is going on in our head, it's just like this on repeat, this rumination that just cycles through our head over and over and over again. And the only way to get it to stop sometimes is to get it out on paper so it's out of our head. Then we can let go of it. And then we shred it or we burn it or we say this is finished or we scribble all over it or we, tear it up and we don't reread it, but we're just like, okay, this is how I'm feeling about myself. And you get all the ugly out. And then I encourage at the end of the journaling to be like, and I love myself and I'm learning and I'm getting better every day and something positive. But I still have them like shred it or rip it up because I want them to get all the ugly out of their head onto paper and then get rid of the paper. And we're just saying, we're not gonna let this stuff stick.
Oh, that's one of my favorite, most effective mental health like tools is journaling. And it is just like you said, I get to get out all the ugly and the horrible things I want to say and the horrible things that I'm thinking. And then I get to just throw them away. Um, Cheree knows, but I'm pregnant right now with my fourth, and my mental health really takes a dive when I'm pregnant. And thankfully, I've figured that out by now. The first couple, I was like, what's wrong with me? But I was re-looking at some journals, right, where I was just kind of documenting the day. And to actually have in there being like, I feel so discouraged and I'm so sad and I don't feel like myself, right? Was so validating to read. And I just remember being like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. Like I have felt like this before, and I'm gonna be okay. So I'm all about burning those super ugly, and then I'm also about journaling and saying, you know what, right now in my life, I am feeling really discouraged for these reasons, right? And here's, some other things going on because it's so nice to look back and go, okay, I've been here before, nothing's wrong with me. Like, we're gonna make it through this.
It's true. And I love that awareness of knowing like this season of your life is a time where you struggle with it more. And I think
Hmm.
we adults and our teens are all have those times where it is just really hard not to have that inner critic come out or hard not to bully ourselves or hard to have that healthy self-talk because of what's going on, our circumstances around us. And I think being really aware of when we're in a spot like that, when we're going through something, that we really need to double down on loving ourselves and we really need to double down on being kind to ourselves and paying attention to when that bully comes out and evict it from our brain. Don't let it live rent free there anymore. But just to really say, okay, this is a time where I can tell it's going to be really easy to criticize myself and to bully myself. And I'm going to really pay attention and I'm going to double down on doing the opposite, on being like, you know what, you're okay, Cheree, and you got this. And teaching your teens to do that when they're faced with some really hard stuff. Like even, at our high school, it's homecoming this week, right? And so it would be really easy for those girls who didn't get asked to just have that bully and that inner critic just
That narrative, yeah.
narrative in their head about what's wrong with them. And that's when this would be an ideal time to be like, hey, this weekend's going to be hard. And my inner critic's going to want to come out so loud because I didn't get asked to the dance. And this is where I need to double down on like really paying attention to what I love about myself,
Journaling.
journaling, and being really kind to myself and noticing when I need to like evict that bully because it's going to be a little harder for me this weekend to not go there.
I was just thinking, like, when do you like really suggest this to your teen and hope they take it? Like, especially breakups. Um, it is so helpful to have your youth document their breakups and how they're feeling. And oh, I saw him at school today and I wanted to cry, all those things. Because then when they're in their next relationship and they've forgotten that they've gotten over breakup before, they can look back and go, oh my goodness, I was so hung up on this guy that right now I don't even think about, right? That I think it gives them a lot of power.
It really does. And I think breakups, I think not making a sports team,
Mhm.
I think losing a game or doing poorly on a test or in school,
Friend changes.
or friends changes, or not getting into the college you want to, or just not getting the job you want to. There's so many where it's going to be so easy for that inner critic to come out, and that's where we need to really pay attention and really have our own back. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. We can't wait to meet you in the next episode where we're going to talk about dating and if our teen's too young.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.